Hey Cowboys Nation, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. NFL Cowboys News. You're tuned into the most exciting place for all things Dallas Cowboys. Now, as we all know, the NFL free agency period is underway, and the Cowboys have already made some big moves and, let's be honest, there's a lot to unpack. On the first day of free agency, the Cowboys made some tough decisions, and we saw Jourdan and Chuma Edoga leave the team. But don't worry, that's not all. We've got the Dre Greenlaw rumors heating up, and the question on everyone's mind, could the Cowboys make a blockbuster trade for Cooper Kupp? It's all happening right now, and we're going to break it down, grade each of the Cowboys' moves, and talk about how it all impacts the 2025 season. So grab a seat, smash that like button, and if you're new around here, make sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Let's dive in. Alright, let's start with the tough part of free agency, the departures. Free agency is all about the team reshaping itself, and sometimes that means saying goodbye to fan favorites. And for Cowboys fans, two of those goodbyes came on day one of free agency, Jourdan and Chuma Edoga. Let's start with Jourdan. For years, Lewis was a reliable nickel cornerback. Drafted back in 2017, he had his moments. He was known for his aggressive style of play, and his ability to cover in the slot helped the Cowboys' defense over the years. But as we all saw in 2023, Lewis wasn't quite the same player. He struggled with injuries, and his performance, at times, seemed to plateau. Despite some bright spots, especially in the early parts of his career, the fact is that the Cowboys now have more depth in the secondary. With players like Darren Bland, who showed tremendous growth last season, the need for Lewis at the nickel spot isn't as urgent as it once was. The Cowboys have also invested in other players who can play in the slot or provide that depth in coverage, and with the way this defense is evolving, it felt like the right time to move on from Lewis. So what does that mean for the Cowboys? I'm going to give this move a B-. Look, Jourdan was a good player, and I don't want to undermine his contributions. But the Cowboys are in a position now where they're thinking about the future, and sometimes that means cutting ties with players who have had a good run but are no longer essential to the team's vision moving forward. Now, that leaves us with Chuma Edoga. The offensive line depth is a bit of a sore spot for the Cowboys, but Edoga's departure shouldn't cause too much of a stir. Edoga was brought in to provide depth and versatility, but he really didn't get a chance to make an impact. He was more of a rotational guy, and honestly, his inconsistency didn't inspire much confidence. Edoga had flashes, but those flashes didn't last long enough to justify a long-term investment. The Cowboys have a solid foundation in place on the offensive line, with key players like Tyron Smith, Zach Martin, and Terrence Steele. But adding more depth and continuity to that O-line will be crucial to keep Dak Prescott healthy and provide him with the time he needs to make plays. So while losing Edoga isn't ideal, it's also not a massive blow. For this move, I'm giving it a C+. It's a move that is expected but doesn't feel like it's going to drastically alter the team's trajectory. It's more of a minor piece in the grand puzzle of free agency. The Cowboys will have to address this position in free agency or the draft, but Edoga wasn't someone you were going to lean on in crunch time. Now, let's get to the good stuff, the potential signings. And I know you all are buzzing about Dre Greenlaw. This guy has been all over the rumors, and I can't blame anyone for getting excited. Greenlaw is a dynamic linebacker who has been an absolute force for the San Francisco 49ers over the last several seasons. And if the Cowboys can land him, that could completely transform the linebacker core. Greenlaw is one of those players that just pops off the tape. He's tough, aggressive, and always around the ball. He's great against the run, but what really sets him apart is his ability to cover in space. He can hang with tight ends, running backs, and even wide receivers in certain situations. And when you have a linebacker with that kind of versatility, It gives defensive coordinators like Dan Quinn so much flexibility to dial up creative schemes. The Cowboys are stacked at linebacker already, with Micah Parsons being the undisputed star. But having a player like Greenlaw next to him, someone who can cover and play downhill, would elevate this defense to another level. You've got Parsons as the pass rusher, Van Der Esch holding down the middle, and Greenlaw playing sideline to sideline. That's a linebacking unit that can compete with anyone in the league. Now, I know the big question is, how much will it cost? The Cowboys have been managing their cap space well, but a player like Greenlaw won't come cheap. However, it's also clear that the Cowboys have been prioritizing their defense, especially with the success they've had over the past few seasons. If they want to keep up with the best teams in the NFC, particularly the 49ers, adding Greenlaw could give them a huge advantage. So, my grade for the potential of signing Dre Greenlaw? I'm giving it an A-. I love the idea of adding Greenlaw, and I think it would be a major upgrade to an already solid linebacker core. But, as always, the cost is a factor, and we'll have to see if the Cowboys can make the numbers work. Alright, here it is, the wild card of free agency rumors, Cooper Kupp. Could the Cowboys really trade for him? Could the Rams actually be willing to part with one of their franchise players? I know it sounds crazy, but let's talk through it. Cooper Kupp, when healthy, is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. He's been a huge weapon for the Rams, and we all saw what he can do when he's at the top of his game, especially during that Super Bowl run. The guy is an elite route runner, has phenomenal hands, and he's always where he needs to be. But the big question is, what's his future in Los Angeles? The Rams are in a rebuild, and with their cap situation, Kupp might be expendable. For the Cowboys, adding a player like Kupp to this offense could be absolutely game-changing. We know CeeDee Lamb is the undisputed number one receiver, but Kupp would give Dak Prescott a reliable, dynamic second option and one that can stretch the field. If Kupp is healthy, he'd open up so many possibilities for the Cowboys, especially in high-pressure situations. But here's the problem: Kupp has dealt with some injury issues, and his contract is massive. The Cowboys would need to pull off a trade that works for both sides, maybe sending over a combination of draft picks and players. The Rams will likely want to reset their roster, and this might be their chance to get some valuable assets in return. What grade do I give this potential move? Well, I'm going to go with A+. The upside is huge if Kupp stays healthy and performs at his elite level. But with that salary and injury concerns, it's a bit of a risk. Still, if the Cowboys can make the numbers work and not give up too much in a trade, this could be a franchise-altering move. As we wrap up today's video, I want to quickly talk about some other potential moves the Cowboys could be making in the coming days. First off, don't be surprised if they target some depth in the defensive backfield. With Lewis gone, there's an opening at cornerback, and even though the Cowboys have talent there, adding a veteran presence could be a smart move. On the offensive side, the tight end market is something the Cowboys need to address. With Dalton Schultz gone, there's a gap at that position. Someone like Mike Gesicki, who brings in more receiving ability than blocking, could be an interesting option. The Cowboys could use a tight end who can contribute in the passing game, a reliable red zone target for Dak Prescott. And let's not forget about the offensive line. With Edoga gone, and the future of some veterans uncertain, the Cowboys will likely address this position, whether through free agency or the draft. Depth on the line is always a priority for this team, and they'll need to continue building that group. In conclusion, day one of free agency has been a mix of goodbyes, potential upgrades, and some serious speculation. The Cowboys have made some moves that make sense for their future, but there's still plenty of work to do. The potential signings of Dre Greenlaw and even Cooper Kupp would be massive, but the Cowboys are also playing the cap game carefully, so we'll see how things unfold. So what do you think, Cowboys Nation? Are you happy with the move so far, or do you think the Cowboys need to do more to get over the hump? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any of the latest updates.